In The Simpsons, almost every major character has had at least one romantic subplot, and in the case of Lisa Simpson, she's had a few. Dopey children of police chiefs, school bullies, and everything in between, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Lisa's love life. More than a few episodes have been dedicated to diving into her repertoire of fun and recognizable suitors. But which of these Lisa lovers are the best and which are less than likable? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Lisa Simpson Relationships, Healthy to Toxic. First, we'll talk about the best relationships. These are the healthy. The gold medal of health goes to Colin. Colin is a young man from the Simpsons movie. He's an Irish environmentalist and musician that Lisa falls in love with. He's shown to be very sweet and caring, and obviously cares for Lisa and her goals. He even tries his best to keep her okay during their escape with a new song he wrote for her. They get along very well, and even though he only appears in cameos after the movie, he's by far the best relationship for Lisa.
He's pure gold.
The silver medal of health goes to Thelonious. Thelonious is a short-lived romance from the iconic season 12 episode, Trilogy of Air, when Lisa goes to the wrong Springfield Elementary, where she meets Thelonious. They don't meet for long, and it's a love at first sight thing for sure, but they're sweet for the short time we witness their relationship. Thelonious even tells Lisa that she shouldn't sacrifice her grades for romance, and they'll meet again in high school, which shows he wants Lisa to have her priorities straight. The bronze medal of health goes to Nelson Muntz. Nelson is a recurring bully who starts to date Lisa in Lisa's Date with Density. Nelson culls his bully tendencies as best as possible, trying to change for Lisa, even if it doesn't last very long. They break up because Nelson helps the other bullies throw expired coleslaw at Skinner's house. Throughout the rest of the series, their relationship is mentioned, and in episodes that look into the future, he's one of the more common relationships she ends up in. Nelson is a good guy at heart, at least when he's around Lisa, and shows he still cares about her in other episodes, like The Great Simpsina, where he threatens to burn ants to spite God if Lisa doesn't come back.
If you don't bring my Lisa back safe, ants will burn tonight.
Nelson cares a lot about Lisa, and this shows in later episodes. The episode, Barthood, shows one version of the future in which Lisa saves Nelson's life with the new surgery she helped create, and they get together. If it wasn't for the fact that Nelson has to change himself, both in the initial episode and in Barthood, to prove that he's worthy of Lisa in some way, they would likely rank higher. Nelson does have to change himself to be worthy of being with Lisa, which isn't the greatest, but Lisa seems to be doing it for not only Nelson's well-being, but to give back to his former victims. So while we don't love the idea of someone having to drastically change themselves if they want a relationship, Nelson seems to benefit from it. However, that doesn't stop them from not grabbing a higher ranking because it's still not the greatest for either of them to force change. Next is Jack DeForest. Jack is another child at Springfield Elementary who appears during the season 27 episode, The Burns Cage. He auditions to play Rick in the school's Casablanca play and easily takes the role, with Milhouse being his understudy.
Understudy? Both those words are horrible.
He doesn't date Lisa for very long, but he has amazing chemistry with her on stage, even if he was pretending to be Milhouse at the time. Sure, he gets kicked out of the play because he beats up the bullies who are sent after him, but despite all of this, he and Lisa are nice to each other, and by the end of the episode, he goes on a treasure hunt while seemingly still dating Lisa. The main problem with him is a lack of real romantic moments with Lisa. Other than that, he definitely has a pretty good relationship with her. Next is Brendan Biederbecky. Brendan is an 11-year-old jazz pianist voiced by Ed Sheeran in the season 29 episode Ha Ha Land. He meets Lisa at a STEM event, and they quickly realize how much they have in common, and they briefly date. Like a lot of her other relationships, while it's sweet, it doesn't last very long as by the end of the episode, Brendan has to transfer to another school.
This young man does not live in the district.
They were very similar to Lisa and Colin's relationship, the main difference being that Brendan never really shows the same sort of affection towards Lisa as Colin did. Despite this, they're quite good for each other, even if they don't particularly last long. Why he lands lower than Jack is simply because while they have a lot in common, Jack seems to like Lisa more than Brendan, but it can go either way. Rounding out the healthy section is Lucas Bortner. Lucas is part of the season 25 episode Lucas, where he's training to be a competitive eater. Lucas, unlike other characters, accepts Lisa for all her faults, and this leads to Lisa and Lucas getting close. Lucas continues to train, and Lisa is more than willing to help him. However, they don't stay together long. Like other times, Lisa has a so-called vision of her future with Lucas, and she decides against dating him, deeming him as too slovenly and like her father. Because of this vision and Lisa's sort of pretentiousness regarding it, they barely survive enough to land in our healthy section. We now move on to the lesser-loved relationships. These are the gray. First in this section is Milos. Milos is a small character in the season 21 episode, Boy Meets Curl. He is the Canadian version of Milhouse and acts pretty much the same as him, instantly crushing on Lisa. However, this is a very one-sided relationship, as it's only a crush from Milos that is unrequited by Lisa. However, he ranks here because he doesn't do all the weird crazy stuff that Milhouse does that makes him rank lower. Next is one of Lisa's most iconic romances, Ralph Wiggum. Ralph is another second grader that is in Lisa's class, and during the season 4 episode, I Love Lisa, the two briefly get together. This is because Ralph didn't have any Valentine's Day cards from the other students, so she gives him the now iconic I choose you card, which leads Ralph to try and date her.
You choose me?
They are together for a short time, mostly thanks to Chief Wiggum. This gets to the point where Ralph has tickets to the Krusty the Clown show, and Lisa really doesn't want to go with him because she doesn't like him. She publicly blows up on him, breaking up with him on public television, which is not a great look for her. Ralph mentions their relationship at many other points in the show, which shows he knows enough to recognize what their relationship is. The end of the iconic episodes has them become friends once more, which shows that despite the very rough breakup and amazing play, they can manage to still be friends. Ralph and Lisa can't rank too much lower, only because Ralph's understanding of things is questionable at best and downright dumb at worst. Her other iconic relationship is with Milhouse Van Houten. Milhouse and Lisa have never actually fully dated on the show, but Milhouse has had a crush on Lisa for almost as long as he's been a character. Milhouse has tried to date Lisa in many different ways, whether that be public or private, but they've never fully gotten together, save for in the future. The future version of Lisa very obviously picked Milhouse as a last-ditch effort, but despite this, they have a daughter together, and they seem to care about each other to a degree. Although Lisa only shows real love for Milhouse when he becomes a zombie, which somehow makes him better,
He's so much more interesting this way.
Milhouse gets immensely jealous and paranoid with Lisa, and it's not great for Lisa. However, Milhouse obviously cares about and loves Lisa, even if Lisa doesn't feel the same way, hence why we don't rank them any lower. Rounding out the gray area is Blake Black. He appears as part of the season 28 two-part special, The Great Fatsby. He's a rich kid who lives in the very rich part of town that Homer and family go to, while Homer tries to get Mr. Burns his riches back after he lost them all to mysterious music mogul JG. Lisa gets mad at Blake for cutting in line, and when he offers to buy everyone a cone, Lisa says no.
Boom!
This intrigues Blake because he's never dated anyone with morals, which is why he becomes so interested in Lisa. He tries everything to appeal to her morals when they go on their dates, although each time he fails miserably. Lisa abandons him for another boy who has the money and tickets to the pony show, which shows that unlike Milhouse, Lisa doesn't care about Blake in the slightest, hence their ranking. Now it's time for the worst. These are the toxic relationships. Starting off the category is Jesse Grass. Jesse is an environmentalist from the season 12 episode Lisa the Tree Hugger and is a so-called level 5 vegan, which means he won't anything that casts a shadow. Jesse leads a community of vegans known as Dirt First, and Lisa has a heavy crush on him. Jesse leads Lisa into tying herself to a tree and supposedly dying because she wanted to prove herself to him.
This was her choice, Mr. Simpson.
He's known for protesting fast food places like Krusty Burger in a cow suit and trying to convince others to join Dirt First. The main issue with this relationship, beyond the whole supposedly dying and subsequent lying to Jesse from Lisa, is the age gap. Lisa is an 8-year-old, and yes, she's dated and had crushes on older kids, but Jesse is a teenager. Not like a 13-year-old, but he looks and acts much closer to the 16 or 17-year-old area, which is a massive gap. That would make him double Lisa's age at this point in the show, and makes it completely unlikely they would ever date. The one saving grace is that Jesse doesn't show any romantic inclination towards Lisa, and it's just a one-sided crush. Next in the toxicity is Luke Stetson from the least Christmassy Christmas episode of The Simpsons. Luke appears during the season 14 episode, Dude, Where's My Ranch? Luke is a 13-year-old kid who works on a dude ranch out in the desert that the Simpsons go to later on in the episode. Lisa has an intense crush on him, and while Luke seems to like her to a degree, Lisa completely ruins her chances because near the end of the episode, she mistakes a conversation between Luke and his sister, Clara Stetson, as romantic.
Clara? He's got a girlfriend.
This leads Lisa into trying to put Clara on the wrong path, which almost leads her to her demise, and leads Luke to actively hate her despite her supposed apology. Luke seems like a good guy for the most part, but even that doesn't stop them from falling here. The Bronze Medal of Toxicity goes to Edmund. Edmund is a major character from the season 22 episode Treehouse of Horror 21, specifically in the segment called Tweenlight. He appears throughout the segment, saving Lisa's life multiple times, causing Lisa to develop a crush on him. Edmund then takes Lisa out into the forest, revealing his fangs, and the fact that he's a vampire. This is when Lisa reveals she'd be willing to live forever as a vampire if he wished to bite her. However, there are a few issues with this. First, Lisa would then be physically 8 years old forever, which she obviously doesn't like. Second, like we talked about with Jesse, the age gap is much more important to take into account. Edmund is 400 years old, despite his 8-year-old body.
Dad, I don't need a chaperone.
That doesn't change the fact that he's been around for 400 years, which makes this relationship even more creepy. And finally, the worst problem is that Edmund tries to forcibly bite and transform Lisa after she already said she didn't want to become a vampire, which is a barely veiled allusion to assault. However, beyond this, Edmund seems sweet enough that he doesn't fall lower, but he was close. The Silver Medal of Toxicity goes to Hugh Parkfield. Hugh is the main romantic interest from Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding. When Lisa goes to a county renaissance fair, she meets a fortune teller who tells her that she may be able to tell her the true future of Lisa's love life. Said love life is supposedly going to end with Hugh Parkfield. Hugh is a British student who goes to the same college as Lisa. They meet in the school library when they both need the same book for a class. Hugh and Lisa absolutely despise each other at first, and it's obvious that they wouldn't work well together romantically. Even though their relationship has a glorious start, it quickly goes south as they prepare for the titular wedding. Hugh heads to America to meet Lisa's family, and while Hugh's family loves Lisa and she makes a good impression, it's quite the opposite for the Simpsons.
Here they come! Raise the flag!
The Simpsons mean well but end up disrespecting and disgusting Hugh, which leads him to trying to pull Lisa away from them. Lisa grows a spine and dumps Hugh after he utterly refuses to take part in only one of her family's traditions with Homer's cufflinks, which shows that her true love is actually her family. Lisa and Hugh are terrible for each other, and it's no surprise that they don't work out. The only reason they don't grab gold, and we mean the only reason, is because at least it's not a manipulative scandal like our final one. The Gold Medal of Toxicity goes to Nick. Nick is from the season 23 episode The Daughter Also Rises, where he makes his one and only appearance. Voiced by Michael Cera, Lisa meets Nick in a special restaurant, and Nick immediately makes himself seem much better than he actually is. He tries to impress Lisa with a suave and confident personality that is in fact a facade used to trick Lisa. Nick tells her not to tell him her name since he wants the first place he hears it to be special. He also manages to come around at the best possible time as his presence allows Lisa to take her focus off the bad events happening around her. The couple seemed good at first, and it isn't until Grandpa says that they need to kiss underneath the tree to seal their union forever.
Run, young lovers! I'll take care of the cops!
This then goes to show off Nick's actual insecure personality, as he isn't ready to commit to a relationship. By the end of the episode, Nick reveals that God gave him a gift to lie to the ladies, showing that not only was he knowingly lying to Lisa, but also had done it multiple times in the past. Nick is manipulative beyond belief, able to convince Lisa that he loves her when he actually doesn't, which makes this by far the worst relationship. But don't touch that dial and don't change the channel, because we've got some glorious center medals to hand out. Earning our Darwin Medal for dumbest character goes to Ralph Wiggum. Undoubtedly, Ralph is so far behind the rest of his class that he can't be trusted with glue or safety scissors. However, he does seem to be emotionally intelligent to some degree. Milhouse takes the Lust Medal for obvious reasons, because he falls in love with Lisa upon just meeting her for the first time. For our Wrath Medal, it goes to Nelson Muntz. Nelson is a bully, wanting to punch and attack those around him, especially when Lisa is getting harmed. To no one's surprise, Lucas Bortner takes our Gluttony Medal. Lucas is known for trying to become a competitive eater, so it's no surprise. The Greed Medal goes to Blake Black. This is simply because of how rich he is and how much he's willing to throw around. And finally, our pride medal belongs to Nick, who believes it's not only a good thing, but a gift to lie to women. Alright guys, that's it. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos, but most importantly, stay wicked.